Joining me now is our panel, Eugene Scott, national political reporter for The Washington Post, Democratic strategist Xochitl Hinojosa, and Republican strategist Brad Todd. All right, Brad, the Tim Scott. Why do you think he felt the need to have to tweet that out, a much more aggressive response versus the one that seemed to be the response you would assume most elected officials would, oh, I don't know anything about it. Let's wait and see.
Because within a couple of hours, the FBI leaks said this was about paperwork. And so if it's really about classified information, by the way, which the president has broad authority to declassify documents that he possesses, if it's really just about paperwork, then this was overkill. Wall Street Journal said it perfectly today. And if it's about more than paperwork, then we have a much bigger problem because the FBI is not coming clean about what it's trying to do. What you're saying is it's okay to assume the worst about the FBI without evidence. No, the FBI has an obligation in a prosecution of a high-ranking government official. It has the obligation to build the confidence of the entire country as it goes along. So the burden is on the FBI and on Merrick Garland to be very transparent about their objectives, what they're doing, and why. And currently, we don't have that from the FBI. So therefore, we have an institution that has been pretty politically motivated when it comes to this president from the start, since before he ran for office. So, of course, it's right to be skeptical in the absence of any more transparency.
Go ahead,
I highly disagree. As someone who was a Justice Department official for many years, I will tell you, Justice Department rules say that you cannot confirm an ongoing investigation, and that is what Attorney General Garland is finding, and the FBI are finding himself. I want to remind you, these are career professionals at the FBI that were carrying out a raid that was, and they report to the FBI director that was, who was selected by Trump. I think the Attorney General here, he has his hands tied. He cannot say much. Neither can the FBI when it comes to this. And so people will have to wait and see. I know that is extremely frustrating, but it is Trump that has the warrant at this point. He wanted to release more information. He could release more information, but the onus is not on the Justice Department to explain more because they can't explain more because they are a law enforcement agency.
So, Eugene, it is this conversation right here, which is why I think that everybody has to be a lot more transparent. The fact of the matter is we live in a different world. We don't live in the world of Elliot Ness.
Sure. I mean, transparency is helpful and valuable, but at this point in the investigation and what happened, the idea that we would know all of the answers to our questions by now is ludicrous. And it's mind-blowing to me that anyone thinks that putting more information out, be it Trump releasing the warrant or the FBI coming out and saying more, would give most Americans confidence in what is happening. People have so many issues, regardless of their political stripes, with the FBI and law enforcement.
I guess I look at it this way. It's like, look, this is not about, you're not going to please 100% of everybody.
No, or maybe even 50.
But I'm looking at 15.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at 15. You have somebody who's weaponizing this. If you know misinformation is out there, should a government agency, if they see misinformation essentially circulating, shouldn't they, and they have the ability to correct the record, shouldn't they?
They need to do what their process tells them is in their best interest to make sure that this is handled appropriately and fairly and justly. Misinformation, it's unavoidable. We live in a day and age where misinformation will always be put out. The idea that we should have to respond to that quickly just because people want to put out lies or create mistrust, that doesn't
Look,
make sense.
I do think there's an irresponsibility here to a lot of elected leaders, a lot of elected Republicans. Mitch McConnell's not being one of those. He's keeping his powder dry. Why do you think so many elected Republicans aren't keeping their powder dry here?
Well, I think Merrick Garland...
I just did to you what people do to me.
Merrick Garland, first off, doesn't have a good track record. He's a track record of being a knee-jerk partisan throughout his tenure here.
How? Whoa. In fairness, how is that?
You can look at what he did. You can look at what he did with school boards. You can look at Merrick Garland has not been anything but the moderate we were promised when he was nominated to the Supreme Court years ago. He's turned out to be as much a partisan as Eric Holder ever was. And so the question in this situation is, everyone on the left wants to rap Donald Trump for breaking norms, and sometimes those criticisms are correct. But here we have an administration that is also breaking a norm, and the same Democrats are cheering it on. And if he wants to prosecute Donald Trump, if he believes Donald Trump might have done something wrong, he's going to have to win over a bunch of the American people to do it. A clear majority, maybe a supermajority of the American people. This is not any kind of an action that would ever take place in court. It take place in the court of public opinion.
And Xochitl, this is to me, though, which is... I do not believe you can hide behind normal protocols here. This is not a normal situation. And more importantly, as I said, Andrew Weissman seemed to agree with this. Whatever you think of Donald Trump, he's waived his right to these privileges by deciding to go public with it. So to me, he's given an invitation to the Justice Department and the FBI. Well, We weren't going to say anything, but he chose to, so the invitation is there.
DOJ rules don't have an exception for a Donald Trump of the world, but what
yes,
I will,
they do. They're nothing but exception. I don't mean to go off on a rant here, but it really bugs me. This is like the ridiculous unwritten rules of baseball. The Justice Department has all these protocols, except if it's 90 days to an election, except if it's 60 days, except if it's this. Unless somebody does something wrong, then the protocol doesn't matter. I don't know what they are. Nobody does. So
here is Attorney General Garland gets it from both sides. You had Democrats just a few months ago who were saying he wasn't doing enough. They were saying that he needed to be more aggressive on this investigation, etc. Now you have Republicans who are upset because of the raid and what had happened, and they're not blaming necessarily the FBI. They're blaming Attorney General Garland. But the reality is that when you are upsetting both sides of the aisle, you know that you are being independent. He doesn't care what anybody says. Unfortunately, Merrick Garland is not watching this panel right now, and he doesn't care what you or I or anyone else says. He is listening to the career attorneys at the Department of Justice about what they should be doing, and that is going to frustrate everybody, but he is doing it because it is the right thing to do, and he's following the rules of the Department
No, they're not.
of
They're
Justice.
leaking to the press as it is. If they can't speak, then they can't.
To the
It's not
press,
leaking to the press.
I wish they were, because we'd have more information. They're not. They're being the leaker here is everything in the Trump world, and they're defining. And that's the other part of this, Eugene. Is again, I go back to he's a different animal than we've ever dealt with before. This is not normal. George W. Bush wouldn't operate this way. Barack Obama wouldn't operate this way. I think Bill Clinton and LBJ wouldn't have operated this way. We could have historians argue a different point. Donald Trump is more than willing to sort of operate this way. I think the idea of just standing back and not combating this seems like you're going to have the Mueller report all over again.
Well, why would he take a different approach if you're going to have this many Republican lawmakers come out and defend him, despite not even knowing the details?
It's astonishing.
And so many of his voters still backing him. And even if all of the information was out, even if we know based on how we've seen Trump's presidency go in the time afterwards, even if all of the information was out and facts, and it pointed to Donald Trump being worse than some of these individuals imagine, many of these people would still defend him. So why would he have any incentive to operate differently?
How important is this been to fundraising in the last 24 hours for Republicans, Brad?
Well, Donald Trump has his skeptics on the Republican side, plenty of them. But where they are united with Donald Trump's supporters is when the Democrats or the national media give Donald Trump an unfair shake. That's when Republicans will rally to Donald Trump, even those who are skeptical of him. And what is one thing?
There's no evidence that this is unfair yet.
Well, but it's precedent breaking. It's precedent breaking. And we've also been given no good reason by the FBI or the Department of Justice what it's for. And so we also know it's never been done to any president before. Has anyone ever of his stature been prosecuted under the Presidential Records Act of 1978? The answer is no. The answer is no. And so,
have we ever had a former president do what he did? The answer is no.
Well,
that's the point. His middle name is unprecedented.
Two different presidents revised the executive orders for how to even implement the Presidential
Including
Records Act.
The former president signed a law that actually raises the prison term from 1 year to 5.
Right.
He did that for classified information because he was obsessed with putting Hillary Clinton in jail.
But the question you ask is, what about Republicans? And the answer is, if the Democrats are throwing the full weight of the force of the federal government to try and get Donald Trump, that will rally Republicans, even those skeptical of him.
It's not the Democrats.
By the way, we're
either.
seeing this, Sochi. But we are.
Merrick Garland's a Democrat. The DOJ is staffed by Democrats. Democrat
The White
appointees.
House was not given a heads up. This is a DOJ
No one
acting
believes
independent.
that. No one believes
that. Is
that.
very true. That is what happens.
No
and
American
working at
believes
the
that.
Department of Justice, there are very few instances you give the White House a heads up on any sort of action.
Do you believe Christopher Wray gave Donald Trump all sorts of heads ups all the time?
I can't believe anybody would go after a former president of the United States without letting the White House know it's coming. If they didn't, the president ought to have their head.
Why would you put the White House in that position?
Why would you allow your Department of Justice, your Attorney General, to divide the country in half on a fishing expedition? You shouldn't.
You're assuming it's a fishing expedition.
Well, then they should clarify it's
Well,
not.
and I think that's where we're all you and I are in agreement on that. I still don't understand why you think it's good for them not to clarify what this is about.
I'm not saying whether this is good or bad for them. I don't think that they care. I don't think that they are
Well,
going
they should
to
care.
I don't think that they feel that because there is outside pressure to do so, that is going to drive their decision to release more information. I'm saying what Attorney General Garland is looking at is what his career attorneys are saying, what the DOJ rules are, and that's super frustrating for all of us.
Yeah.
But that's the reality.
Well, I think they're hiding, like I said, they're hiding behind some old rules conveniently here. Eugene, Sochi, Brad, this is animating. It's a quiet August here in Washington.